worshiping with us through this live streaming. There is a popular Filipino saying which goes, kung hindi makuha sa santong dasalan, daanin sa 10 paspasan. Roughly translated would be, if you can get it through a saintly prayer, get it by whatever means that is fast and effective. This is mounted especially by those feeling machos who would get the girl's consent through whatever means they say. Whether this is at all true in reality or just part of male's boasting, feeding his ego and narcissism, I do not know. But such vision of life is contrary to the spirit of the gospel expressed in today's reading, whose conclusion declares, by your endurance you will gain your souls. This is the attitude recommended by the Lord to His followers as they face the difficulties of discipleship, especially that of persecution, the attitude of patience or endurance. The term endurance in Greek is hypomone, no? Is understood as hanging in there, which denotes perseverance, consistency, dependability. Hypomone, generally translated as patience or endurance, or sometimes they mix it as patient endurance, is understood as the idea is of the staying in power that keeps the person going until the end. This hypomone grows as we experience more trials. We find, for example, St. Paul in his letter to the Romans, chapter 5, verse 3, saying, we glory in our sufferings because we know that suffering produces perseverance. Or in the letter of James, chapter 1, verse 3, the testing of your faith produces perseverance. That endurance becomes part of our character that enables us to face the blows and frustrations of life. I still remember the comment of my father when I went home for the first time since I entered the seminary. He was asking me, kumusta tibiyag yung seminaryo? No? How's life in the seminary? And right away I said, narigat, mahirap. And I told him the challenges of the daily order, of getting accustomed to the order of seminary life, studies, community, etc. And his comment struck me that I still remember. No? He said, nunarigat, day tati husto. If it is difficult, then it must be you are in the right track. If it is difficult, then that must be true. As he would explain that life, real life, and success need efforts, patience, hard work, perseverance. But what underlies endurance is not just enduring for the sake of enduring, but for us Christians, the underlying spirit of Christian endurance, patience, is of course our hope, Christian hope. that what we endure has been endured by the Lord in order to gain for us salvation. So we can hope that sharing patiently what Jesus endured, we shall also share in His glory. And this is the Christian attitude that we as followers of Christ should cultivate: patience, endurance, as it is asked by the Lord in the gospel today. The experience of this pandemic has been a test of, I think, patience and endurance, among others, of course. We thought that after the first lockdown for 2 months, everything will return to normal. And it is more than 8 months already, and we do not see yet the end of this. But let this, as seen by Paul, by the authors, sacred authors, let this experience of challenge, trials, be an exercise of endurance and an opportunity to form our hearts and character. For that is part of our following of Christ. Some people marvel at the length of formation, priestly formation, seminary formation. It is long. And these our brothers are still starting. It's a long process. Why? Because formation is not just formation of one aspect. It is a total formation of the human person. In other words, it is a formation of character. And character, as the gospel today, is formed by the exercise of endurance, patience. This ministry of extraordinary ministry of Holy Communion is a foretaste of what the priestly ministry will be, to be minister at the altar of the Lord and help feed God's people with the bread of life. And may this patikim of this experience of ministry inspire you, dear brothers, to be diligent, to be cooperative, to be open in the formation, in our formation. And we know that this formation, the underlying of all this formation, the difficulties and trials of formation of life, is of course the hope in the Lord, who has won over sin and death, and who has promised glory, life to those who endure. May the Lord help us grow in our hypomone, endurance, to form us better Christians, better followers.